Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7, and I am back with a guide for this week's daily race C. Now we've already got a track guide. If anyone's looking for that on the channel, simply go to the Group 3 playlist and there is a guide from Nürburgring. There's two separate ones, one in the Beetle and one in the Porsche, so you can check them out. But this is about the race. We have 10 laps times 10 tyre wear times 3 fuel. That doesn't matter, but the tyre wear is what is important. So for this race we're starting from the back of the grid, and I'm going to try and give you some pointers with strategy and tyre saving, because we're going to start on the hard tyres and I am going to go for a 1-9 split in this race. So if these videos help you out, make sure you get subscribed to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments if it's helped you out. Hopefully we can gain you some DR this week with this guide. So first things first, first lap on the hard tyre. You want to gain as many positions as you can without obviously losing any time yourself. So just be cautious, because this track promotes quite a chaotic start with the way the layout is. So you're going to see a lot of close racing, 2x2 racing, sometimes 3 wide, and you're going to have to try and pick your cars to overtake, and just be aware that there's going to be cars making mistakes. So make sure you're on the brakes nice and early like I am there, because we've got a car spinning off the track of there. So there's a free position gained already, and you're going to get a few of them on lap 1 normally. Every race you're going to get 1 or 2 that are going to end up going a little bit wide here, going into the gravel, and you're going to gain a position. So again, having a little look up the inside, but we're going to brake early because the Mercedes has got to brake early because of the cars in front of him. So again, try and get it nice and tight to the apex. Obviously on the hard tyre you don't need to worry about tyre saving. On this tyre, give it the maximum. You know, you don't need to be looking after the tyres, because times 7 tyre is nothing for the hard tyres, and we're only doing 1 lap. I am anyway. Now if you're on a controller, I would probably say the most you're going to be able to do is 8 laps on the medium, the very most. I don't think you'll be risking the 9 laps. I think it might be a bit too much. Even on a wheel, 9 laps is a little bit of a struggle. You've got to look after the tyres quite aggressively to make this strategy work, but that's what I'm going to try and point out to you in this video, and try and show you where we're doing it and how we're doing it with the 9 laps and keeping pace while doing it. So up the inside into the chicane, nice easy move. This is a good place to get an overtake done. If you can get on the inside for that chicane, always good for an early overtake. Now be very cautious of the pit entry, everyone. So many people getting 3-second penalties on the pit entrance and the pit exit, so I'm going to point that out for this, because it's vital that you lot avoid that, because I don't want you getting 3 seconds penalties, because a 3-second penalty on this track is worth about 5 or 6 seconds. Just try and avoid it as much as possible. So you can see again on the pit exit, be cautious you don't go over that white line. It's very important. Make sure you brake nice and early. Now you see how I'm getting into second gear very early out of turn 1. Now this is something that we're doing to look after the tyres. Again, into this next left hand corner up here. Normally in time trial you'd be very aggressive in the first gear, then in second gear, but you can see I'm going to stay in second gear because I don't want to take too much life out the rear tyres. With the Porsche, the rear tyres are what you're looking after in this race. The front tyres are going to be fine to the end. You're not going to need to worry about the front tyres. They are going to be good to go all the way the 9 laps. Pretty much no issue with them at all. It's all about the rear tyres. So it's all about being very smooth on your downshifting, not going through the gears super fast, like 3 or 4 shifts at once. You want to be like gradual downshifting. Now you can see we're catching up to, I think it's Sluggy in front of us there. We were held up a little bit for lap 2 as we skipped to lap 3 here. And this was the time where I knew I had to get past, because one thing I'm going to point out now again is stuck in a slipstream is going to kill your rear tyres. So if you are stuck in a situation like this, you're going to have to add even more tyre saving onto your race. Now this is an important thing to remember, because if you're behind someone for a whole race, you're going to find it very difficult to get the 9 laps done out of these medium tyres. So it's important to get the moves done as quick as you can while you have tyre life. Now another factor is the dirty air is relevant again for this combination. You do feel it, it's noticeable. Now it gets more noticeable the more that tyre wear kicks in. So your overtakes need to be done as quick as possible in this race. You've got to get them done nice and early when you've got grip, because it will just get harder and harder every single race. You can see a very slow lap there. We're losing over a second lap. We've managed to do, I think, a 54.2 we've done in the race so far whilst saving tyres. So you can see that that lap is quite drastically off there. So we went for the dive up the inside, got it moved, got it made, and that was a nice move there. And now we're going back into tyre saving, but we do have another car in front of us, but at the moment we're not in that dirty air yet. And you can see he actually has a penalty. So again, probably a track limit penalty for the pit exit or pit entrance. So you need to be careful. You can see that people are getting it in this race, and I want to make sure that people that are watching my channel are aware of this and take extra careful approaches into that pit lane. If you think you're going to go over the white line, just bail the pit lane entrance and do it the next lap. It's not worth 3 seconds, trust me. So you can see again, we're catching up to the car in front and keeping that downshifting very, very smooth. So again, into this corner, you're not just going to heavy downshift into first gear. You can see holding third gear, then second gear, letting it slow down, then being careful on the throttle, because we're not just going to floor it and let it spin out. We're going to wait for that rotation to happen when there's no throttling. Once that rotation happens, we can get on the throttle because we know the rear tyres are not going to spin up. So this is how you're going to save the tyres. It's really important, again, for this corner, downshift into third gear, being careful again, trying to make sure the car doesn't drift and slide too much, because you're going to kill the tyres when you start sliding around on this track. Now, the fastest way to drive this track is probably very aggressive, but you don't want to do that for a race where you're trying to do 9 laps with ×7 tyre wear on the medium tyres, because it's not going to work. As you can see, just how much time was lost there with the car in front of us with that penalty. A massive amount of time lost with the 3 seconds, I think it was, or I'm not sure if he had a 3 or 1.5, but yeah. Whatever that penalty was, it's a really heavy penalty zone. The loss where it is, because you're going so fast, it's going to take quite a lot of time out of your lap. So be very cautious with that as we go over the line with a little bit of a faster lap there, 54.8. Not particularly amazing, but we're trying to save these tyres. So again, unfortunately, yet again, we come out over the next for the next start of the next lap, and we've got another car in front of us. So every time we go over this line, we seem to get another car introduced in front of us. Now, luckily for us, he has a ½ second penalty. Now, he is on fresh medium tyres. We're in P4, he's in P3, but this is technically fighting for the possible lead of the race, I think, because the car in front, I'm not sure if that car's pitted yet, but yeah, this car in front of us is on fresh medium tyres. We are on 3 lap older tyres, so he's got a 3 lap ×7, so technically 21 laps fresher tyres than what we've got on the car to try and fight with us. So we're going to try and get ahead as quick as possible, and we're going to show you how to use that dirty air to your advantage, really. So you can see he's got the ½ second. Again, while we're behind him here, there's no point being super aggressive and trying to, you know, like harass him into a mistake. We're just going to take it easy because he's got a penalty. We might as well try and save our tyres while we're picking up that slipstream, because that's going to hurt our tyres being in it. So just try and save the tyres a little bit. Don't overdrive the car in this phase. When you've got someone with a penalty in front of you, there is no point, you know, going all over them, weaving around, trying to get an overtake done before they take it, because you're going to get the position for free. So just look after your tyres in this situation and save them for that last lap, because you're going to need them. So you can see he's going to take the ½ second here. We're going to use the slipstream, go straight through him there, get a little bit of benefit from the slip. And we're now up into P3, and we've got 2 cars ahead of us. Obviously, P1 has yet to pit, so he's not really in this battle. The car in front of us, I'm not too sure if that car has pitted yet, or what is going on, or whether they're on hard tyres. Don't really know what's going on with the car in front, but we are catching fairly fast to the car, so we should be on them very shortly. Now, if you're going to start this race on the medium tyres, I would probably do an aggressive. If you're starting at the front of the grid, I'd probably go aggressive and be quite aggressive with the approach that you do, and do 7 laps, maximum 8 laps. I wouldn't go for the 9 laps if you're starting at the front and starting on the medium tyres, because it's not going to work doing 9 laps. I think you're going to fade out of tyres, and there's not really a benefit to it. You might as well go for a fresh, the extra lap on the hard tyre when you're starting at the front and you haven't got the traffic to deal with. The main reason we're doing this is because we're undercutting so many people. You can see we're up to P3. We've just got rid of so many cars that we had to overtake just by getting an early pit stop in and going for a big undercut. So if you're starting at the front, I would probably go with 7 laps on the medium and then 3 laps on the hard tyre if you're driving fairly aggressive. If you want to save some tyres, you should be able to get 8 laps in and then do 2 laps on the hard tyre. And you might, if you do enough tyre saving, you might be able to get it so you can actually do the 8 laps and get an overcut by pitting later than them and going faster, because remember, they're going to be going onto the hard tyres. Worn mediums might be very close to the hard tyres on lap 8 if you look after them well enough. So remember that it might be possible to do, but you might not get it done. So it's a risk if you do that. It's up to you. But obviously, if you're starting on the hard tyre, I think 1 lap is possible, but for the majority, 2 laps is going to be safer, and pad players maybe 2 to 3 laps on the hard tyres. As we go for a nice move up the inside, they ran very wide, left the door open. We take advantage of that, and we're now up into P2, which is actually net P1 in this race. So now we've got some clean air. This is where I need to start doing the tyre saving, because I used a bit of tyre life up during that phase there to get ahead of the cars, because it's more important to be ahead of them so I can now look after the tyres. So again, You can see being very cautious in some of these braking phases, just letting the car rotate itself. You can see off the throttle, off the brake, letting the car rotate, being cautious on the throttle, and now working our way up into turn 1. So again, you can see we're going to skip a little bit ahead now, I think, into the next lap here, where we're starting the lap 8. So we've now done 7 laps, 6 laps on these tyres, and they're getting quite second hand. You can see that on the telemetry, but this is where we're going to start really looking after the tyres. So being very careful on the downshifts here, second gear, not going into first gear, and just letting the car coast and then back on the throttle. You can see how that second gear actually works quite well without going into first gear if you get on the throttle nice and early. And again, into this corner, we're not going to go into first gear yet, because you might do on the last lap when your rotation starts to fade, but at this phase you can stay in second gear, keep that rear life as good as possible. So we're trying to push here at the same time as saving tyres, because we've got a car behind us that's obviously got 3 lap pressure tyres. He's on the same compound of tyres as us, and he's clearly a lot faster than I am at this point of the race. But we're going to use that dirty air to our advantage, keep the car on the track. This is the main thing. When you've got this situation that we're in now, as long as you do good racing lines and concentrate on exit speed, that is going to make it very, very difficult for the car behind to actually get close enough, because as soon as they get within 3-4 attempts, especially with the tyres starting to wear out at this phase, I know he's done a lot less laps than us, he's still getting that tyre wear, and it's just going to make his car understeer more, then oversteer on exits, and it's just going to take more and more life out of his tyres and make it a little bit more equal. Obviously, he's still got more pace than us, but this is a problem with the game at the moment that we do need sorting. Hopefully PD are bringing a fix to this soon. I hope it's in the next update that we get a complete fix for this, so that we can race and battle with each other a lot more, because it is slightly frustrating that this situation happens for the cars behind, because we've just used a tactical way of doing this race to get ourselves into P1, and now we've just got to try and hold on with tyre saving. Even though we're not as fast as the car behind, we've got the situation where as long as we get good exits from the corner, from that chicane, you see, very aggressive on the chicane, that is one area that you really need to get mastered at, making use of the maximum track limits through there, because you can gain quite a lot of time. But you can see now we're on to lap 9 and now on to lap 10. So this is where the tyres are starting to fade. You're going to see our rear tyres are really running low, and you're going to see we might throw in a little first gear shift every now and then just to get a bit of rotation at this phase. So again, first gear, then back up to second gear before we get on the power. So first gear for rotation, then back up to second gear before we get on the power, because that'll help keep your life on the tyre. Again, probably something similar into this corner. We might do it first gear and then back up to second gear. So again, you see our tyres are fading, so we're using first gear for rotation and then back up to second gear for the power phase, and that's going to hopefully keep the tyres alive all the way to the finish. So it's all about getting that tyre life to get to the finish. Now, it's very, very sketchy, I have to say, how close it is. However, what I will say about the Porsche, this car has incredible traction. So even when the rear tyres completely go on these medium tyres, you still feel like you've got a reasonably drivable car. However, it won't be very quick on the traction. It just won't really accelerate out of the corners, because it won't bite into the tarmac, and you are going to lose a little bit of pace. But it's still drivable, so you can still defend even when you've hardly got any life left. So for the people that are worrying, thinking, oh, my tyres are getting really low, I think I need to pit, and that's why I can't go in the pit early and maybe do like 8 laps. You probably could do the 8 laps if you do 2 laps on the hard and just struggle like we are here with the rear tyres almost completely gone, because the car is actually still drivable, and that's the main thing. As long as it's drivable and you can hit your apexes, that is where you're going to be able to hold the car off behind, because you can't get close enough when following in that slipstream. Again, you can see into the braking phase, being very cautious here, braking before the 100 board, and just making sure that we're not overextending the braking zone. He goes a bit aggressive into that corner. I think he made a mistake there, because I personally think if he would have concentrated on exit speed, he might have had an opportunity into this corner, but he got a little bit too enthusiastic and just completely messed his chance up of going for a win there. But we take the win from the back of the grid by doing basically tyre saving with the downshifting. The main way I was doing it throughout the whole race was just looking after the rear tyres by shifting very slowly and taking higher gears through some of them corners, and that's what you need to do with this Porsche. Front tyres are not an issue, so you don't need to worry about them. It's all about the rear tyres. Hopefully this has helped you out a little bit with strategy and give you some ideas of what you can and can't do depending on if you're on a controller, for example. I do think you're going to have to shorten that lap by at least 1. But other than that, hopefully it'll help you out. Let me know in the comment section how you've got on with this race, what strategies you've been running, and I'll see you for more videos soon. Thanks again for watching, everyone.